In this past week's Age of Rebellion Darth Vader issue, we see Darth Vader piloting a starfighter that's very different from his traditionally flown TIE Advanced X-1, using it to help the Empire conquer the Mid-Rim in the early part of the Imperial era. The use of the starfighter by Vader brings up a lot of questions. Why isn't Vader flying the Advanced X-1? What are its origins? And is the starfighter Darth Maul's Scimitar? In this video expose, we'll examine a number of sources within canon lore that explain what this starfighter is, why Vader wasn't using the TIE Advanced X-1 at this time, and why it's not Maul's Scimitar, despite many great potential connections to it. Because the Age of Rebellion issue shows the Empire still using Clone War era Venator-class Star Destroyers and V-Wings, we can assume the issue takes place in the early period of the Empire. Both models were eventually phased out in favor of the Imperial-class Star Destroyer and TIE Fighter respectively. Although Venators were still used throughout the Imperial era, even seen as late as during the Galactic Civil War within the 2015 Darth Vader comic, they were considered an older model and replaced by the Imperial class. Therefore, because the Age of Rebellion issue is within the early phase of the Empire, we can assume this is still the starship that was gifted to Vader by Sidious immediately after Episode 3, the first starfighter used by Vader before the TIE Advanced X-1. As seen in the very first issue of the 2017 Vader comic, the first thing Vader does after Episode 3 is go on a mission to obtain a new lightsaber at the behest of Sidious, and to aid his apprentice, Sidious provided Vader with a vessel to do so. Vader would use this starfighter in the entire first arc, using it to travel to confront the Jedi Master Karak and Phila on the planet Adalim and take his lightsaber, and then to Mustafar to bleed his Kyber crystal, corrupting it with the dark side to produce his Crimson Blade. The starfighter is then seen again in the third arc of the 2017 Vader comic, when Vader is traveling back to Coruscant from the planet Kabaria, where he investigated a potential Jedi sighting, still in the very early days of the Empire. In fact, we see the starfighter crash land upon Coruscant after it was attacked as part of a plot to kill Vader by Imperial officers. Because the ship crash landed, it might be reasonable to assume that this was the end of it, with Vader moving on to his Eta II Actis class interceptor discussed in the Lords of the Sith and Tarkin novels, and eventually, the TIE Advanced X-1. But we know that Vader continued to use the starfighter given to him by Sidious even after it crash landed upon Coruscant in the Vader comic, with the Age of Rebellion arc of Vader helping to pacify the Mid-Rim occurring afterwards. Because Vader constructed his new lightsaber hilt, the classic hilt seen within the original trilogy, actually constructing it on the starship itself, we know Vader's actions in the Mid-Rim were after the crash on Coruscant because he was wielding his new lightsaber. It's interesting because, although still in the early era of the Empire, Vader used this starship for longer than I initially assumed, and these events must have been crucial to Vader eventually going the Seiner fleet systems to ask for major upgrades for a new starfighter he could use, which eventually was produced through the TIE Advanced X-1. The real interesting lore is in considering whether this starfighter used by Vader is Darth Maul's Scimitar starfighter. The idea isn't completely ridiculous, as we know in canon that after Maul's death in Episode 1, the Scimitar fell back into possession of Sidious, where he kept it within an Imperial facility and overseen by the droid O-66. We also know the starfighter survived much later into the Imperial era, as seen within the 2015 Lando comic series, where it was used by the bounty hunter Chanith Cha. But did Sidious gift the Scimitar to Vader early in the Empire as depicted within these canon comics, and then regain possession once Vader moved on to the TIE Advanced? A quick comparison lets us know that although they look very similar, Vader's starship is not Maul's Scimitar. The front section of Vader's starfighter is far larger and curved, but the main giveaway are the engines. The Scimitar has two elongated horizontal engines green in color, while Vader's starship has four bluish engines in a rectangular configuration. And importantly, the Lando comic, again occurring much later in the Imperial era than the Vader Age of Rebellion and Darth Vader comic issues, lets us know that the Scimitar visually remained the same as it did in Episode 1, with no significant modifications to the engines. But this doesn't end the potential connections to Maul's Scimitar in canon. Thanks to the recently released TIE Fighter Owner's Workshop Manual, we know that the Scimitar was really a modified star courier produced by race Seiner that was customized for Maul at the behest of Sidious. This was done in secret during the era of the Galactic Republic, as Seiner Fleet Systems, the eventual corporation that won the Imperial contract to produce the Empire's TIE Fighters, was experimenting with unorthodox technologies through its Advanced Project Laboratory. The Scimitar was a product of this work, and Sidious took full advantage of this experimentation by providing Maul with a completely unique and powerful starfighter. Given that Vader's first starfighter gifted to him by Sidious is so similar to Seiner Fleet System's Star Courier, and the Sith Lord seemingly had it manufactured and prepared for Vader in the immediate aftermath of Episode 3, I believe it's safe to assume Sidious took the same action for Vader as he did for Maul. He took advantage of Seiner's Advanced Project Laboratory in the pre-Empire period and secretly crafted a new powerful starfighter for his apprentice. Eventually, Vader would go to Seiner himself to develop a new TIE fighter that met his own personal specifications, which of course became the TIE Advanced X1. So there we have it, Vader's starfighter seen in the most recent Age of Rebellion issue and the great lore surrounding it. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. Or perhaps follow us on Twitter at SW Reading Club for updates regarding the channel. Or support the channel through Patreon for access to exclusive rewards and discussions. If not for me... for 066.